He did flag. Jake flagged it on
last
his behalf. Yep. But I haven't seen it. I haven't seen the amendments or anything. Okay, can we just go to item 11, and then Luke will come back to you. Thanks.
Okay.
Am I good to go? Yeah. So Antigua Street, just to try and sort of set the context of what this decision is. It's a go-no-go decision to allow the works to be complete before Paracury opens. The design was approved by council in May 2022, and council has also indicated support for the additional funding through the draft annual plan. If we wait until July before we tender this, we don't think there's any real chance this could be completed before the opening of Paracury. So effectively what we're proposing is that we borrow budget from Wheels to Wings. When the annual plan is signed off, as we expect it to be, that money will be transferred back to Wheels to Wings to allow it to go ahead. We don't think that will have any effect on Wheels to Wings given the 3 sections that council has been talking about doing. If it's approved today, we'll go to tender within a week. Tender documents are done, so we're ready to go. And if it's not approved, we'll review the delivery timescales as part of the deliverability exercise that's coming up in the next few weeks.
Sarah's going to move it and Melanie's going to second it. Are there any questions? Mr. Mayor.
Jacob, this is going ahead as it was designed from day dot, is that right?
Yes.
So we're not taking an advantage of any of the land that Paracury have given us to make the road wider and give us more room? We're just sticking with what we did?
The design has always included the additional land that Paracury gives us. So that's how you get the additional space for the cycleway and keep the road and the parking.
Yeah, so all we did, though, with the extra land that Paracury gave us was filled up with plants. Is that right? Have I understand that correctly?
Effectively, it takes more space to get the separated cycleways on both sides. So there's a bit more room for that planting, but there's also this extra space required for the cycleways.
So, but we didn't widen everything out to give us more room in the middle of the road. So the road is exactly as it was designed. Is that more or less?
More or less, yeah.
Okay. Okay. So taking the 1.2 from Wheels to Wings is roughly the increase that it's going to be. So the number on there that's 3.9 million for the whole thing, that's not 1.2 on top of that, it's not?
Yes, it's 1.2 on top of that. So the overall project budget would end up being about 4.9, of which we've spent about 1.1 to date.
Right, okay. And if we don't give it back to Wheels to Wings, it means that we don't have to put that increase into the annual plan and just leave Wheels to Wings a bit short one day down the track.
Yes, but I don't think it'll impact Wheels to Wings until about FY29. So there's an opportunity, I guess, to decide what we do in the next LTP.
Okay, and the last thing for me, this is with the 2 traffic lights on Wheels to Wings. This is not whipping this money is not impacting those getting designed.
No.
And when roughly, this is not part of this. When roughly will the design be for the 2 lots of traffic lights in Harewood Road? Where is that at?
They're being completed. We're looking at how we'll procure it, but I think we're looking good to be starting to do those in the middle of the year.
Okay, thank you. Good.
Cool. Okay, any other, Yanni?
Thank you. I was just wondering when we knew that this project was over budget?
We came and did a workshop with you in July last year, in which we talked about the likely overspend, and we also put forward some suggestions for how we thought they could be designed out. My sense from that workshop was that there wasn't a great appetite for changing the design.
Right. So just in 4.11.1, where it says value engineer the project to achieve savings, being ruled out due to the need to progress quickly to meet the opening of Paracury.
Yeah.
But given that we've known for so long that the budget has been over, why have we not been able to do any value engineering?
Because the design's been approved, so that's why we did the workshop in July last year, was to gauge appetite for a redesign. And like I said, at that point there was no, I got no real sense that there was an appetite to reopen the design at that time.
Are we looking at the cost of how we're doing things? Because it just, like, yeah, it seems a very high cost for a very small piece of road. And I know we had the workshop and you've given us a lot of detail, but we are getting increasingly concerns raised from people, not around the provision of a cycleway, but around the cost of how we're doing cycleways and other roading projects. So is there any review going on as to how we can do them more cost effectively?
I mean, we can look at more cost effective ways of doing it, and like I said, that was the point of doing the workshop, was to gauge appetite. So some of the things that we put forward as things we were trying to gauge your opinion on were the design, and so we looked at how we could narrow the whole thing in so we didn't require so much space, the types of separators that we used, whether we needed the landscaping, and so on and so forth. So they were all in that workshop, and like I said, there was no real strong desire to reopen the design at that time.
Okay.
Yep, sorry, this isn't a question, but there is an infrastructure committee that had a meeting yesterday about this sort of thing that councillors are welcome to attend.
Tyler?
Hey guys. So within your job, you do look at costings and making sure that the ratepayer gets their bang for buck, right?
Yeah, absolutely.
Great, thanks.
Aaron?
So two questions. Was this job designed in-house or was this consultants that did this one?
It was designed in-house with some consultancy advice around the cycleway.
Right. And just to clarify, it's now just shy of 5 million for one block?
For the whole project, yes.
Which
is one block, yeah, but it has the intersection in as well.
Right. What's that? Oh, well, there's an aversion to traffic lights around here, as you're probably aware.
Okay, so that's been moved and seconded. Any other questions? Any debate?
Just the one, if you could send through a little bit of a breakdown, so just to avoid the whole, oh look, one block, $5 million social media post that's coming up. It would be great to have a bit of a breakdown of how much that's, due to traffic lights, those kind of things, so that people can actually have a bit more understanding of where the money goes, any underground works.
Infrastructure.
Yeah. I mean, it does
Infrastructure.
include quite a bit of existing road conditions. So the road condition down Antigua Street is quite poor. For those who've
So it's
cycled
like
down there, you
rebuilding the
certainly
road
rattle
for
your way along
people
there.
driving as well. And
So it ends up with a fully surfaced, upgraded road as well.
Yeah, so that'd be really good to have a little bit of a breakdown so that people can see, how much of it's for what. Thanks.
Okay, so let's not have an argument. Any debate? Mr. Mayor, maybe we will have an argument.
No, I'm not going to support this. It doesn't matter. In one breath it said delays to tendering will result in a higher price, and in the next one's the one above it says the construction market is currently soft, so the council will receive competitive prices. They're outdoing each other, and there's only 4 months in between the thing. I still do not believe that the council staff looked at ways to use the land that Paracury gave us. I know we went to a workshop and I certainly didn't agree, but we had to go along with the rest of the thing. So I won't be supporting this because I think the whole thing is an over-design with lots of trees and stuff there when there's 23,000 plants being planted at Paracury less than 3 metres away. So I won't be supporting this.
I think it shows a lack of leadership actually from the mayor, and I'm not joking. If you're going to open a Metro Sports Paracury and not have a road you can get people into it, and people can't cycle there, what are you trying to achieve? Nothing. That's what you're trying to achieve.
Yeah, publicly this will be quite contentious, and I think it's good for the Mayor to speak up on behalf of all of those people around the city that get really annoyed by spending $5 million on one block. And I heard people heckling across the room saying, oh, there's traffic lights and stuff. There's already traffic lights there at both ends of this block. So there's none at Herwood Road, Breen's Gardeners, where there's multiple crashes. And this will be accessible. It's already accessible. It's surrounded by good roads. This is just, once again, an over-design and an overspend in the trees in the street. And it'll be great to see a breakdown of the cost, because the in-street trees will be thousands of dollars each. And we have a parks team that can deliver trees planted in reserves at $10 each. So for the same cost, we could have thousands more trees planted than the ones that will go on that street. Yes, it will look good. It won't be that usable and that practical, but the cycleway on one side should have gone through the Parakiori site like the Mayor said. That was a great suggestion, showed great leadership and a great use of that space, because when you go down there, that space is quite underutilised. So you can keep ignoring the public and saying that you know better, but come October, they might tell you different.
On a completely different note, I do hope that in 20 years' time, when none of us are here, those trees aren't pulling up the... Oh, yeah, apart from Yanni, but I'm just hoping that the trees that are being planted are not pulling up the asphalt, and we're going back along and rebuilding it all, because yet again we have planted the wrong trees in the wrong place.
Look, I know that historically there were some trees planted that were not the correct species for the correct place, but council staff have been on top of that for many years now, and also to reduce the operational cost of managing those trees. But I'm really hoping too that in 20 years' time, when none of us are here, except Yanni, that people will continue to say, wow, what an incredible city Christchurch is. And it's only by taking these bold moves to invest the money, which is required, that we will have that city that's fast becoming an incredibly highly reputable place to work, live, play and invest. So I think it's really important to get behind this, particularly with the Parakiori opening. We can't muck around, we have to go with it, and it will be great.
Just following on from the Deputy Mayor there, you know, council has to balance the needs of current residents of the city with the needs of future generations, and our job is to plan for the future, not just to have the status quo. Prior to the earthquakes, it was generally accepted that the central city was dying, it was grey, it was boring, shops were really struggling. At that time, council got in Gill architects and others to look at how they could make the city more vibrant. That stuff ended up feeding into the post-quake response. And in Share an Idea and other expressions of community desires for our central city, people were really clear that they wanted a more walkable, more people-friendly and greener central city. It is really hard to hold that vision still when we don't look back at it kind of often enough. But telling that story and showing how the decisions that have been made so far in the rebuild of the city have really created the vibrant place that we see now. You know, all of these newspaper articles that people put up on their social media saying how cool the city is now is based off the other people-friendly decisions. Riverside Market is the most phenomenal example of that link between both the private enterprise building the market itself, but the public realm outside it. I mean, I can't picture Riverside without all of that seating outside that's actually in the official road. The white picnic tables under the trees used to be 22 car parks. If we took all of that away now and put back 22 car parks, people would be in an uproar. You know, the public realm helps the businesses in the central city. And actually, when you go from the Antigua Street bridge, which is really close to a really busy pedestrian area, it's only a couple of 100 metres down to Parakiori. There's going to be a lot of people not just driving and biking. There's going to be a stack of people walking to Parakiori. And so making sure that we don't have a shared path, that we keep cyclists and pedestrians separate is really important. We have enough issues at the moment with pedestrians being surprised by bikes whizzing past them, those kind of things, that we don't want to create more issues outside a really high pedestrian area that's being built in the central city. Getting this done ahead of the opening is really important. Really looking forward to seeing it, in the near future, and seeing the number of people that use it. The people this morning walking down the river promenade between the hospital and sort of Montreal and around, huge numbers of people walking and biking into town. And the same is going to happen on Antigua Street. It's already one of our busiest cycleways, and that totem over the bridge shows you just how many people. I think yesterday 2,500 bike trips across the bridge. So we need to make sure we provide separate space and not shared path right next to Parakiori. Thanks.
Thank you, Chair. I've got a strong sense of deja vu here. When this came before us previously, I had a number of concerns about it, and I expressed those at that time. I've still got those concerns about it, and I'm in the Mayor's camp with this. I'm of the view that we ought to have worked harder to avoid the increased costs on this. I'm not going to be supporting this today.
I'm probably the only person in this room who bikes on that block every day.
I did this morning.
Oh, you did every day. And it is overwhelmingly a bicycle. The traffic movements on that block are overwhelmingly by people on bicycles rather than cars. In fact, it would almost make sense to close it off, but let's not go there. So if it's overwhelmingly a street for bicycles, it makes sense to invest in transport infrastructure for bicycles. So I'll support the motion.
Yeah, thanks. Look, I acknowledge that the Mayor's concerned about aspects of the design and perhaps the cost, but really we've got an opportunity to do this to get ahead of the Parakiori opening, so I'm going to support it today.
Yeah, thank you. I thought actually the report's quite good in that it does give us some options, and one of the options is to wait for the annual plan sign-off, which actually to me seems quite a sensible thing to do. It enables the public to provide feedback on our budget, which is what we're just about to go and ask them for. And it also provides time to investigate alternative designs and evaluate the requirements after the facility is opened, and look at the synergies with the possible Morehouse-Stewart intersection project. Just a wee flag, we're proposing to spend $300,000 on just doing the business case for the Stewart-Morehouse intersection. So if you just kind of think about how much money we're spending on one little business case for one little intersection, it's quite frightening. And I do think the public do want to express their views over how we're prioritising the funding of certain things. Sadly, in my community, where we've had fatalities in Bromley, council resolved to put zero on budget in the draft annual plan. So, to put it into context, almost this entire project's budget for one part of a street is more than we've put on for the entire suburb of Bromley in terms of the Bromley transport plan. And I get it that people will have different views on what's important and what's a priority, but I think the important thing is that we actually hear from our community. And if we make the decision today to do that ahead of hearing from submissions to our draft annual plan, then what is the point in having a draft annual plan if we're just going to make decisions before we know what the feedback is? So I actually think there's some sense in waiting. I know it's not perfect for some people that want this to be done as soon as possible, but there has been a heck of a lot of time where we've known that this project is over budget, and to have a report coming to us on the week that our draft annual plan is going out for consultation, I just don't think is the right thing to do, is to take money off another project because we don't know the outcome of the draft annual plan until we've finished that process. So this ultimately puts the wheels to wings at risk if we're taking money from that and then don't resolve to put money in the draft annual plan. So I do think it's important that we have good cycleway access along this stretch. I totally understand that this is an area where there is a demand for cycling facilities, but the cost of this project, in my mind, is something that the infrastructure committee really needs, or the working party needs to have a really good look at. There must be ways of doing things more cost effective than how we're currently doing them, and I think now's the time to start looking at that so that we can inform the draft annual plan rather than making the decision today.
I think it's a great project. I'm looking forward to this going ahead. I think it's important that we consider that if we get 10,000 visitors a day to this facility, they certainly won't be all coming in cars. In terms of the planting, I think it's interesting that perhaps some councillors are concerned about that when I see that we're spending $22.5 million on OPEX for the stadium, and a large proponent of that is for the green space, which is $2.5 million a year. So if we're in favour of creating a big green space in the central city, let's look at other plantings that we can do in other areas.
I'm going to leave the stadium out of this one, sure. Yeah, I share the concerns around cost and everything that we may or may not need to be doing, but this project is more than just the cycle lane. It's work that has to be done. 10,000 people a day will be visiting. It's quite a lot. And if in not 20 years' time, but if in 20 months' time, we were sitting here and then you've got all of this great big movement at a great new facility that's been years and years over delayed, and then we're going to start ripping up the road outside that facility a few months into it being open, I don't want to be certainly sitting anywhere in 20 months when that starts happening. I think that would be making an absolute meal of a project that has really had a few years of struggle already. So unfortunately, whatever it may be, this decision here is purely about whether work goes ahead before that thing opens or after. And doing it after, with 10,000 people a day visiting, will be a disaster, and we will not look good at all. So, in many ways, damned if we do, damned if we don't. I feel like we have to do this.
Everyone had their say, pretty much. Okay, but look, very briefly from me, I mean, I think these debates always signal the difference of view around this council table. And actually, except for Mel, to be honest, your debate, I think everyone was really respectful in how they did it. But look, if people are going to be like that, that's the way it is. I only have one request, and it's for the media, which they put the voting record for this on the front page of the paper, because there'll be nothing that will ignite the city more than the way we are spending money than this. So look, if you don't listen to me for the rest of the year, the media, I would like this vote put on the front page, because I think it typifies exactly where this council is at and why the people of Christchurch get very annoyed with us.
Are you the editor now?
No, it would be very different. Yeah. Okay, so on that note, do you want a division? It's probably easier. Yep, division.
Okay, division has been called for on item 11, Antigua Street, request to proceed ahead of the annual plan completion. So, Councillor Moore.
Yes.
Councillor Johansson. Deputy Mayor. Aye. Councillor McClellan.
Yes.
Councillor Barber.
Yes.
Councillor Goff.
No.
Councillor McDonald.
No.
Councillor Kean. Councillor Fields.
Yes.
The Mayor. No. Councillor Scandrick.
Yes.
Councillor Harrison Hunt.
Yes.
Councillor Coker.
Yes.
Councillor Templeton.
Aye.
Councillor Donovan.
Yes.
Councillor Peters.
Yes.
Councillor Henstock.
It's a no.
So, for the yeses, we have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11. And for the noes, we have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6.
Should we move to October? I mean, sorry, to item 10. So let's go. What's that? You say it with your mic on so that everyone can hear it. Okay. Do you want to go to the draft submission, or do we want to appoint Tim as the chair for the items? What have you